Welcome to the Madison Miller podcast. Today is Thursday, January 30th, 2020. Today I'm going to recap yesterday's tennis matches and look ahead to tonight and maybe tomorrow's as well. College basketball, NBA, and NHL. Look ahead to tonight. Look back on last night. My top 10 moments of Kobe Bryant's career. What we know and what I question with the Super Bowl. The Astros hire a manager. And my best bet of the day. Okay, we're going to start in tennis like we have the last couple shows. And we'll start on the men's side of things where we're in the semifinals. Daniel Time defeated Rafael Nadal in 4 sets, and that was the quarterfinal yesterday. In the semifinal, late last night, early this morning, 2-seeded Novak Djokovic over 3-seeded Roger Federer in 3 sets. As Djokovic move on to the final. And tonight at 3:30 on ESPN, 5-seeded Dominic Thiem against 7-seeded Alexander Zverev. So the winner of this will face Djokovic, obviously. This should be a pretty decent match. I don't feel good about it, but I'm going to go with Dominic Thiem. I just feel that he's got some momentum after his big win over Nadal. So I think that he's going to carry it over here. I won't be surprised if Zverev pulls it off. But I do like this matchup for Thiem. I think it'll be maybe a 5-set game. And I think your final on Saturday night will be Djokovic against Thiem. Now I'll switch over to the women's side of things. Yesterday, 14th-seeded Sofia Kenin upset at 1-seed Ashley Barty in 2 sets. That's a huge, huge upset. As Kenin goes on to the final. And in the other match, you had Gabriela Muguruza over 4-seeded Simona Halep in 2 sets. So Muguruza and Kenin is your final, and that will take place Friday night or early Saturday morning on ESPN. So we'll pick that match on tomorrow's podcast. Now we'll move on to college basketball. We'll go over last night's slate and look ahead to today. Army over Bucknell, 68-59. 10 Seton Hall over DePaul, 64-57. 13 Kentucky over Vandy, 71-62. 14 Michigan State over Northwestern, 79-50. 7 Dayton over Duquesne, 73-69. 21 Houston over East Carolina, 69-59. 22 LSU over Alabama, 90-76. UMass over St. Joe's, 91-76. Stony Brook over UMass Lowell, 84-76. St. Peter's over Monmouth, 66-63. BU over Loyola, Maryland, 92-77. Memphis over UCF, 59-57. Bradley over Valpo, 80-69. Indiana State over Drake, 58-56. George Washington over Davidson, 107-104 in quadruple overtime. St. Bonaventure over Fordham, 60-55 in overtime. Notre Dame over Wake Forest, 90-80. UConn over Temple, 78-63. Lafayette over Colgate, 80-78. Navy over Holy Cross, 81-66. Hartford over Binghamton, 73-57. Vermont over New Hampshire, 56-43. Albany over UMBC, 67-63. Northern Iowa over Missouri State, 95-66. Wofford over the Citadel, 79-56. Mercer over East Tennessee State, 71-55. Furman over VMI, 74-72 in overtime. UNC Greensboro over Western Carolina, 72-58. Sam Houston State over A&M Corpus Christi, 80-61. McNeese over Nichols, 80-74 in overtime. Chattanooga over Samford, 92-84. Texas Tech over number 12 West Virginia, 89-81. Incarnate Word over Houston Baptist, 84-82. Texas over TCU, 62-61. Northwestern State over New Orleans, 82-74. Illinois State over Evansville, 77-66. Central Arkansas over Louisiana, or Southeast Louisiana, 88-68. Southern Illinois over Loyola Chicago, 68-63. South Dakota State over Oral Roberts, 76-61. South Florida over Tulane, 66-52. St. Louis over LaSalle 77-76 in overtime. Kansas State over Oklahoma 61-53. Number 24 Penn State over Indiana 64-49. Marquette over Xavier 84-82 in double overtime. South Carolina over Arkansas 79-77. Stephen F. Austin over Abilene Christian 71-61. Number 1 Baylor over Iowa State 67-53. Number 4 San Diego State over New Mexico 85-57. Number 6 Louisville over Boston College 86-69. Cal Baptist over Utah Valley 65-61. Boise State over San Jose State 98-71. Colorado State over Nevada 92-91. Washington State over Arizona State 67-65. Tonight's slate's pretty big. We have an afternoon game between Mount St. Mary's and Sacred Heart, 6 o'clock. Gardner-Webb, UNC Asheville. 6:30, CBS Sports Network, Charleston at James Madison. Charleston is a 6-point road favorite. Tough number. I think they nailed it. I'm going to take Charleston because whenever I feel like they nailed the number, just take the favorite unless there's some injuries or whatever. So, give me Charleston on the road here. 7 o'clock, Hope Lawn, UNC Towson, Northeastern William & Mary, Radford Longwood, ESPNU, South Carolina Upstate, and Presbyterian. Presbyterian's a 2.5-point favorite. I'd lay with Presbyterian. This line should be a half-point higher. We like it at 3. So, give me Presbyterian minus the 2.5. I think it'll be competitive, and I think they'll get the win on home court. North Alabama, NJIT, Kennesaw State, Liberty. Stetson, North Florida, High Point, Campbell, UIC, Youngstown State, South Alabama, Georgia State, Southeast Missouri State, Morehead State, IUPUI, Cleveland State, Western Kentucky, FAU, Marshall, FIU, Bryant, Robert Morris, Central Con State, San Francisco, Pennsylvania, Fairleigh Dickinson, Wagner, Florida Gulf Coast, Jacksonville, Troy, Georgia Southern, St. Francis, Brooklyn, Merrimack, Minnesota at number 19, Illinois, 7:30 Fox Sports 1. Illinois is a 5-point favorite at home. Tough one here. I'd lay it with the Illinois. I don't feel good about it. But I just think that the number should be 6 rather than 5. Because I feel that this is a pick'em if it was at Minnesota. So give me Illinois minus 5. I just think that they win somewhere in that 8-9 range. Charlotte, Louisiana Tech, North Dakota, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Coastal Carolina, Little Rock, Tennessee Martin, Eastern Kentucky, Winthrop, Charleston Southern, 8 o'clock Eastern Illinois, Murray State, App State, Arkansas State, Yale Monroe, Texas State, Louisiana, UT Arlington, UAB, UTSA, Grand Canyon, Texas, Rio Grande, Old Dominion, Southern Miss. 8:30 Big Ten Network, number 18 Iowa, number 15 Maryland. Maryland's a 5.5-point home favorite. Right now, I think these two teams are closer than the number suggests. I'd make this game Maryland by 4 right now, so I think I'm getting some value here with the Hawkeyes on the road. So give me Iowa plus the 5.5. I don't feel good about it, though, but I do think Maryland will win. North Dakota State, Western Illinois, 8:30 CBS Sports Network, Pepperdine at BYU. BYU is a 12.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Pepperdine in the points, but I don't feel good about it. I just think BYU wins by 7. Tennessee State, Jacksonville State, SAU, Edwardsville, Austin P. 9 o'clock Pac-12 Network, number 11 Oregon at Cal. Oregon's a 10.5-point favorite. I think this is a little bit of a ridiculous line. I would lay it with Oregon. I just think that Cal is no good. So give me Oregon minus 10.5. ESPNU, Belmont, Tennessee Tech. Belmont's a 15-point road favorite. I'd lay it with Belmont. I don't feel good about it, though. Weber State, Southern Utah. 9 o'clock, ESPN2, Arizona, Washington. Arizona's laying 3. I'm taking the Huskies in the 3. I think the Huskies win the game. I just think that they need, like, a signature win. Arizona's under a lot of pressure, too. They need this game, too, to even, like, stay on the bubble, in my opinion. There's a lot of teams that are, like, right there on the bubble. I'm going to make a projected bracket next week after the Super Bowl's over, and then we'll do that weekly. But give me Washington. I think they win the game outright. South Dakota at Denver. Middle Tennessee, UTEP. Cal State, Bakersfield, New Mexico State. Idaho State, Northern Colorado. 9:30, Utah at USC. USC's an 8.5-point favorite. I think that's a little ridiculous. I would make this maybe USC by 7, because I think that these two teams are a little bit closer together than given credit for, which would mean USC by 4 on a neutral. So give me Utah plus the points. I don't feel good about it, though. 10 o'clock, Cal State Fullerton at Cal Poly, Long Beach State at UC Riverside, UC Irvine at UC Davis, San Francisco at San Diego. San Francisco's laying 6. I'm laying it with San Francisco. San Diego has not been very good lately. This team has fallen off since a good start. Meanwhile, San Francisco is not a bad team from the West Coast Conference. So give me San Francisco minus a 6. And by the way, if San Francisco is home, I'd make this 14. So otherwise, San Francisco, I'm getting 2 points of value here. Loyola Marymount at Pacific. Pacific's a 6-point home favorite. I would make this Pacific by 9, so I'm getting 3 points of value here. So give me Pacific minus the 6. Portland at St. Mary's. St. Mary's is giving 19.5. That's kind of dead on. So I'd lay it with St. Mary's here. Don't feel strongly about it. Montana at Portland State. 10:30 CBS Sports Network. Number 2 Gonzaga at Santa Clara. Gonzaga's a 16.5-point favorite. Santa Clara's fallen off after a good start. I'm laying it with Gonzaga. Gonzaga's the cover machine. So give me Gonzaga minus the points. 11 o'clock ESPN2. Number 20 Colorado at UCLA. Colorado's a 4.5-point favorite on the road. I'm taking UCLA in the points. Just have a gut feeling. This is a trap game for Colorado. They're looking ahead to the USC game a little bit. So I think UCLA wins the game outright. Give me the points. And by the way, I'd make this line around the same. I'd make it 3.5. So a little bit off. Pac-12 Network, Oregon State at Stanford. Stanford's a 6.5-point favorite. I think that's just about right. I'd lay it with Stanford, although I don't feel strongly about it. And ESPNU at 11 o'clock, UC Santa Barbara at Cal State Northridge. Santa Barbara's a 1.5 favorite. I think that's a layup. I'd make this line like 4. So give me Santa Barbara minus the 1.5. I think that, like I said, is a layup against Cal State Northridge, barring some injuries. NBA, I'm going to look back on last night's slate and look ahead to tonight's games, including the doubleheader on TNT. Pacers over the Bulls, 115-106 in overtime in the return of Victor Oladipo. Nets over the Pistons, 125-115 in Kyrie Irving's first game since the passing of Kobe Bryant. Grizzlies over the Knicks, 127-106. There was a mini brawl at the end of this game where Jay Crowder steals an in-pass on a Julius Randle turnover with less than a minute to go in regulation. And Alfred Payton of the Knicks shoves Crowder because Crowder backed up and took a 3. Meanwhile, Crowder kicked his leg out just seconds after the shove, and then there's a little brawl. Marcus Morris threw a punch. He got ejected. But yeah, just an unfortunate situation. This is probably like the low point of the Knicks season right now, and it's unfortunate it has to come 3 days after the passing of Kobe Bryant. Spurs over the Jazz, 127-120. Thunder over the Kings, 120-100 in Chris Paul's first game since the passing of Kobe Bryant. And the Trailblazers over the Rockets, 125-112 in James Harden's first game, or second game since the Kobe passing. That's right, he played in that game against the Nuggets, in which they lost. Damian Lillard, by the way, had his first career triple-double in that game. Tonight's slate, 6 games, 7 o'clock, the Raptors at the Cavs, Hornets at the Wizards, 76ers at the Hawks at 7:30. 8 o'clock TNT, the Warriors at the Celtics. The Celtics are giving 12.5. I'd lay it with the Celtics. I think this is a blowout. Don't feel like it's going to definitely be a blowout, but I think the Celtics win by 15. So give me the Celts minus the points, because I think they're going to come out with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. 10:30 TNT, the Jazz at the Nuggets. The Nuggets are laying 1.5 at home. I'd lay it with the Nugs. I would make this Nuggets by 3. I think these two teams are very, very even. But there are injuries on the Nuggets, and that's why the line's lower. But they're home. It's the altitude. That crowd's going to be ruckus. So give me the Nuggets minus 1.5 here at home in a battle of two teams with the same record. And at 10:30, Kings at the Clippers. It's the Clippers' first home game since the passing of Kobe Bryant. NHL. Going to look back on last night's games and look ahead to what should be a very busy slate tonight. Maple Leafs over the Stars 5-3. Flames over the Oilers 4-3 in a shootout. Predators over the Capitals 5-4. Coyotes lose at the Ducks 4-2. Lightning over the Kings 4-2 in the Kings' first home game since the passing of Kobe Bryant. And the Canucks over the Sharks 5-2. No, it's a short slate tonight. My bad. 7 o'clock, the Canadiens at the Sabres. 7:30, NBCSN, the Predators at the Devils. Kenny Albert and Joe Micheletti on the call. It's the return of John Hines, who was the coach of the Devils to start the year and is now the coach of the Nashville Predators. I think Hines is going to want to get this win against the team that fired him a couple months ago. So give me the Devils the Predators on the road here. Won't be shocked if this is a double or a multiple goal win for the Preds. And then 9:30 you have the Kings at the Coyotes. Now I'm going to do my top 10 moments for Kobe Bryant. There's a lot of them that I thought about putting in but didn't. My honorable mention is that he had a really thunderous dunk on Dwight Howard in Orlando. I believe it was back in 2006, but that didn't make the cut. That was my honorable mention. My number 10, buzzer beater Milwaukee in the 2009-10 season. Kobe was just incredibly clutch that season, carrying the Lakers to their 5th title. The Bucks that year weren't very good, but they played a competitive game with the Lakers and Kobe, and then Kobe ends up getting the buzzer shot. Number 9, the buzzer beater versus the Blazers in Portland. I believe this was a playoff round 1 game. If not, it was the final game of the regular season. It was in 2004. He gets a big buzzer beater against a Portland Trailblazers team that wasn't bad. Number 8, buzzer beater versus the Miami Heat. This was also the 2009-10 season. A game on ESPN. Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson were on the call. A great game between the Heat and the Lakers. Dwayne Wade. It was the year before LeBron joined the Heat. Heat played well in the 4th quarter, but Kobe Bryant hits a ridiculous shot to win the game for the Lakers. And Staples Center just went ballistic. Number 7, the 2012 gold medal game. He was a big part of the second of 3 straight gold medals for the United States men's basketball team. A lot of big names around this team like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Obviously Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. He had a lot of big name stars. Chris Paul. So it was a really, really good game, and he was a big part of that. Number 6, his 61-point outburst at Madison Square Garden. This was on February 2nd of 2009, so the anniversary of this is going to be on Super Bowl Sunday. Knicks were competitive in that game for a while. They were coached under Mike D'Antoni. It was like Nate Robinson, David Lee, Chris Duhon. It was that team. They're competitive with the Lakers in that game, but they just couldn't stop Kobe and his 61 points at the Garden. He had 20 free throws as well. And that was a part of that 61. Number 5 is 81-point outburst versus the Toronto Raptors at the Staples Center. I believe this was back in 2006. The Lakers weren't very good. I don't think Phil Jackson was there that year. It was obviously a few years before they traded for Pau Gasol. He was really good that year. That was the year he should have won the MVP, but he lost it to Steve Nash. Number 4, buzzer beater versus Suns, Game 6, 2006 first round. The Lakers lost the series in 7, but if it wasn't for this, the series wouldn't have gone 7. Inbound pass is stolen, and then Kobe hits the game-tying layup to tie the game. And then They had to jump the ball at center court, and Luke Walton wins the tip, passes it to Kobe. Kobe hits a mid-range jump shot, Mike Breen's famous bang call, and that was that. Number 3, a big alley-oop in the 2000 Western Conference Finals versus the Blazers. I believe this was the clinching game. I think it was a Game 7 at home. They put the Lakers up by 6 within the last minutes of the game. And that was an exclamation point to that series, and that was pretty much saying, hey, we're here, and the title runs through us kind of moment, which what we thought was going to be for the next decade, but it kind of was, but it wasn't, because the middle of that decade was really the Spurs and the Pistons and the Miami Heat. Number 2, 60 points in his final game of his career. That was at home against the Utah Jazz. ESPN re-aired that the other night. Mike Tirico and Hubie Brown were on the call. It was actually going on simultaneously with Golden State Warriors going for 73 wins. So Kobe's final game had to get bumped down to ESPN2. So ESPN could air Golden State making history with 73 wins. But most eyes were on Kobe. The Warrior game was a blowout. So, if I'm not mistaken, maybe ESPN did switch over to Kobe's once that Warrior game got out of hand. And then he was clutch in the fourth quarter, had 20 points in the fourth quarter against the Jazz in his final game. Brought the Lakers back from double digits down the win. John Ireland of ESPN Los Angeles had a great call on the radio in that fourth quarter that's worth listening to as well. And my number 1 moment for Kobe Bryant, the 2008 gold medal game. He took over in that game to end a drought for Team USA for gold medals. I remember Mike Breen called the game on NBC with Doug Collins, and after the game, the players were approaching Doug Collins and thanking him for an inspirational speech. It really got Doug Collins choked up on there. I'll never forget that. But Kobe was the leader of that team. That team also had LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, Darren Williams. I'm not sure if Durant was there yet. I don't think so, because I think that was the year he was drafted. But there were a lot of good players on that team, and Kobe led the way. And then they knocked off a talented Spain team that had both Gasol brothers, Jose Calderon and Ricky Rubio, on the other side. Now I'm going to do what we know and what I question for the Super Bowl. 5 things that I'm intrigued about and what we know, and then what I question regarding these 4 topics regarding the big game. First, we're going to go with the AFC representative, the Kansas City Chiefs. What we know is that Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the NFL. If you didn't forget that, I'm sorry, he is. People did forget that because he got injured against the Denver Broncos in week 6 of the season, and people thought that his season was over and the Chiefs' season was over, and that the Raiders or somebody like that was going to win the AFC West. Not so fast. Mahomes comes back 3 weeks later and leads them to the 2 seed, and now here they are in the Super Bowl. So, you got to give the Chiefs credit for getting here. Their defense is playing a lot better, and their offense is really humming right now. My question is, can they torch this 49ers stellar defense for once? The 49er defense has looked like the 49er defense from the first half of the year in the playoffs thus far, and they're getting guys back that are healthy. Richard Sherman's playing really well. Nick Bosa is the leader of that pass rush. Kwon Alexander's playing well. So, my big question for the Chiefs is whether their offensive success can continue against the best defense they'll see in this playoff run and arguably all season. The 49ers, what we know about the 49ers is that This has been a resilient bunch all season long, overcoming adversity and really showing people that they're no fluke. And my question for them involves quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Is he capable of outplaying Patrick Mahomes and outdoing his stats and carrying this team to a Super Bowl victory if this is a shootout? I don't know if this will be a shootout. My pick is going to be coming up on tomorrow's podcast, obviously. But this is a really big litmus test for Garoppolo to see if he can carry his team in a big moment if this indeed turns into a shootout. My next question involves the national anthem. Demi Lovato. She really hasn't been in the news in a while. She performed at the Grammys, had a great performance since she unfortunately OD'd. Looks like she's doing well. And my question is that can she pull off a memorable national anthem in the form of Lady Gaga or Gladys Knight? I mean, Whitney Houston's asking for a lot because that was the best national anthem in Super Bowl history, although Lady Gaga's was awesome as well. Or could this be like the Christina Aguilera and she screws up? I don't think it'll be the latter, but it wouldn't dumbfound me if she kind of screws up a little bit here. And my next point is the halftime show. What we know is that it's J-Lo and Shakira. My question is there any surprise guests lurking? I think the obvious pick of this would be Pitbull, who is from Miami, has a song with J-Lo. He's in On the Floor. And I won't be that surprised if he performs like Give Me Everything or Don't Stop the Party or something like that. And the other candidate, I think, is Flo Rida, who's also from Florida and from Miami. Won't be shocked if he comes out and performs Low or something like that. I don't think he has a song with J-Lo or Shakira that I'm thinking about, but I wouldn't rule out the idea of Flo Rida being there too. And lastly, the commercials. My question for the commercials is that how many unexpected funny commercials will there be? There's always one every year, and the one that everybody's going to be talking about, laughing their butts off about. Before I do Best Bet, I want to discuss the hiring of Dusty Baker for the Houston Astros. They gave him a 1-year deal with a 2021 option to be their next manager. Dusty Baker is a regular season success machine. Everywhere he's been, he's won with talented rosters in the regular season, but always choked when it comes to playoff time. It's not the worst hire in the world. I think they could have done worse. There's a lot of people killing this hire because he's obviously judged by his playoff failures, most notably with the last couple of years with the Nationals and the Reds, and then earlier in the century with the Cubs and the Giants. But it's not a terrible hire, I don't think. I think that they kind of were in a rush to hire somebody that's had some success, and they decided to go with Dusty Baker. And I think that the Astros, there's going to be a lot of distractions and whatnot, so I don't know if they will be as successful as Dusty Baker normally is with his teams because of all the distractions and some key losses such as Garrett Cole, and then improvements in the division with the Athletics, and I think the Angels and the Rangers are going to be improved. The Mariners are terrible. They're not going to be any good, but I think that the other three teams in the division are all going to be better. And obviously, like I mentioned, the Astros lost Garrett Cole to the Yankees, so there's some pressure on the Astros to perform and really do it without cheating, which they learned their lesson by now, hopefully. Now my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. 2 picks for you, one in college basketball, one in the NBA. These are two games I discussed earlier, but I just think that they're really good picks. In college basketball, I'm going to go with UC Santa Barbara against Cal State Northridge. It went up to 2. I think that's a layup for them. Northridge is not very good. I think Santa Barbara's much better. I think that line should really be like 4.5, 5, personally. And in the NBA, I'm going to lay the 1.5 with the Denver Nuggets at home against the Utah Jazz. Sans injuries, I just think home court will prevail for the Nuggets. That's it for today's podcast. Tomorrow I'll be back picking all the props for the Super Bowl as well as the game. Tennis, college basketball, NBA, and NHL looking ahead to the weekend. Maybe some more Kobe talk if we have time, and any other news that breaks in the world of sports. Hope you guys have a great day, everybody.